new twists and turns in the desperate search for Julianne Gonzalez. Tonight, could two mystery men hold the key to finding this beautiful young mother? Julie vanished in Austin, Texas back in March. The 21-year-old was going through a bitter divorce. It was earlier reported Julie's estranged husband, George de la Cruz, was the last person to see her alive. Julie stopped by George's house to pick up their 2-year-old daughter, but he insists she changed her mind on his doorstep, and she has not been seen since. Tonight, a slew of really stunning new developments as multiple people are now coming forward claiming they have eyeballed Julie alive and well walking around Austin, Texas. Cops say there's no evidence of foul play, but Julie's family is desperate. Obviously, they fear the worst. Joining me tonight, Julie's heartbroken, devastated mother, Sandra Soto. Sandra, I cannot even imagine what you're going through, and our purpose here is to help find your daughter. But what do you know about these purported sightings of your daughter in the very same city and even in the very same neighborhood from which she disappeared?
Well, from the reports that, the calls that we have gotten from the witnesses saying that they have seen Julie, it's usually they see her, maybe drugged, maybe drunk. Someone is usually helping her walk, if not carrying her. Late hours of the night, just different places all over Austin, not all in the same place.
Is it credible? I mean, in your opinion, is there credibility to this?
I think everything is worth looking into, but I don't understand why APD has not questioned these witnesses to get some composite sketches and try to match them up to see if everyone is describing the same person.
Well, what you're talking about is not just Julie walking around, but this new theory that has emerged. A neighbor in Austin says he saw Julie the very day she vanished with two mysterious men in the backyard. Now, the mother of Julie's estranged husband, George de la Cruz, that mother is claiming she found a suspicious hole inside a shed in the backyard of their marital home. Take a look at this picture. Look at that. There's new allegations this hidden hole could have been used to stash drugs and or cash. So could this be connected to an abduction? Sandra, what have you heard about this latest report of the two mystery men and the suspicious hole in the backyard?
Well, this neighbor came forward from the very beginning, and he said that he did see two guys going into George's backyard, knocking on his front door, knocking on his back door, I guess going over there to look for George. And at the very beginning, this neighbor said that he saw a young woman in the car. He couldn't tell if it was Julie or not. Well, now he's changing the story, and he's saying, yes, definitely, it was Julie. Well, regardless, why were these guys at George's house? That's George's house, not Julie's house. George should know who these guys are. If two guys walk into my yard, knocking on my windows, I'm going to know who they are. But George knows who they are. George knows who they are.
I got the impression that this was the marital home that they once shared. Is that correct or not?
Julie left him in November. She filed for divorce in December. George tried to commit suicide in January. In February, they went to court again. In March, Julie disappeared. In April, George admitted to wanting to kill himself again, and in April, George failed a polygraph test.
All right, now you have pointed the finger at George, the estranged husband. Julie and George de la Cruz were, as you mentioned, going through a bitter divorce. Julie's family has been suspicious of him. You just heard Julie's mom right there, but he is not considered a suspect or a person of interest.
Yes, he is considered.
I want to be there with y'all, but I know I'm not wanted. So why be there if everybody's going to look down on me?
Well, Julie didn't trust you, and you know that. Every time Julie went to go meet you with Layla to do the exchange, she always went escorted because she didn't trust you. This particular time, she wasn't escorted, and this happens. So you have to understand us. We don't trust you because of what you've done in the past.
Now, Sandra, with all these new developments, the two mystery men, the possible sightings of your daughter in Austin, is it time to start looking elsewhere past George to solve your daughter's tragic disappearance?
I think George still needs to be questioned because he knows something. He's holding back information. And now that he has a lawyer, his lawyer is not allowing him to talk. He failed the polygraph, And by him failing the polygraph, that means he's holding back information. I don't understand why this lawyer won't allow him to talk.
All right, well, guess what? We're going to talk to the lawyer right now, and we're going to ask him that question. George de la Cruz has declared his innocence from day one. He has an alibi, and he's sticking to his story that Julie came up to pick up their 2-year-old daughter and then decided to leave without the child and then vanish. Listen to this.
I've been with her for at least 4 years, so I know when there's something wrong with her. And I tried talking to her. I asked the question, what's wrong? And she just said, well, I'm okay, don't worry about it. So I just let it go, right? So like I said, well, here's Layla's stuff, and everything's there. You want to go ahead and check at it, so make sure that everything's there so you can take her. That's when she told me, well, you know what? I got plans this weekend. Can you please take care of her? I'm like, okay, yeah. And I said, so when are you going to come pick her up? So I'll let you know. I'll call you whenever I want her. But she said, well, it's going to be this weekend. I'm like, yes. So like I said, I never thought anything bad was going to happen because like I said, well, okay.
Joining me now, George's attorney, Patrick Fagerberg. Patrick, do you feel this new information about the 2 mystery men and the suspicious hole clears your client?
Well, Jane, let me start by saying that, again, there's still misinformation. Everybody keeps saying that George was the last person to see her. That's not true. Jesse Corpus, the neighbor, has talked to police 3 times, gave them this story exactly. He said at 2 o'clock on Friday, before he goes to pick up his wife, he unlocks his gate, backs his car out, and while he was doing this, he saw Julie Ann Gonzalez drive up in the late model Chevy Malibu. She never left the car. He saw 2 Hispanic males get out, walk directly to the back of the house, did not knock on the door, did not knock, there's 2 front doors, did not knock on either door, went to the back. It took him about 5 minutes to close the gates before he drove off. He drove off, looked at Julie directly in the eye and waved at her, and she acknowledged him. He drove off. So I want to get one thing really clear. Jesse Corpus is a very, very credible man, and his story has never changed. So she was spotted at 2 o'clock at George's house with 2 Hispanic males. And from my experience, I've done many, many federal drug cases all over the country. And the hole in the backyard, in my opinion, is a drug stash hole. I don't know what those people were doing there. I don't like to presume anything, but in my experience and opinion, that's what they were there. They were there to pick up cash and or drugs. Furthermore, that everybody fails to talk about is that Julie Ann, sometime later that evening, walked into the Walgreens and asked permission from a clerk to leave her car parked there. So that is another person that saw Julie Ann after 10:30 a.m. when my client saw her. And
Julie's desperate family is doing everything they can to find their beautiful daughter. But what about the police? And let me just explain this. Julie's mom says Austin PD is not doing enough. Listen to this.
They should have looked at her car. They should have looked at any video footage from any of the places where she was said to have been last seen. They haven't done that. They should have polygraphed people who said that they spoke to her last.
So Patrick Fagerberg, you're the attorney for George de la Cruz. What is going on with the police investigation? I mean, you're saying all this stuff. We're not hearing any of this from police. They're saying nothing.
It is an ongoing investigation, and I don't think it does anybody any good to badmouth APD. They are conducting this as an investigation, interviewing people they should. And I don't think bad-mouthing my client, bad-mouthing APD, is helpful in finding Julie. We want to find Julie. And in my opinion, the theory that I put forward, that she somehow got involved with some people who were in narcotics, that will lead to where she is. And
what about these sightings of Julie?
I pray that they are true. Absolutely. But again, when you have Julianne's mother pointing a finger at my client, basically saying that he is responsible, that is counterproductive to finding her daughter. And
well, we're emphasizing that he is not a suspect in this case. He's not a person of interest, and we want to be fair and get both sides. That's why we had you on. We hope you come back, Patrick. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And we pray we find Julie Ann Gonzalez alive.